And a good Tuesday morning to you. This weather video driven by 802cars.com. They represent 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Looking at the current weather pattern right now across much of the United States. Warmest off to the southeast, and of course we have this daughter vortex. This is a piece of the polar vortex that is broken off. When the polar vortex weakens due to a sudden stratospheric warming event, it's split into two and weakens, and you get these subsequent smaller but all-important shots of colder air associated with it. And you can see the temperatures here and just how cold they are. Those are ambient air temperatures, by the way. Let's take a look at wind chill. And you can see just how severe this is in the Dakotas, coming in out of Alberta and Saskatchewan and rotating around this area of low pressure. This particular batch of colder air is going to moderate as it works in across the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are relatively warm, and that's why they pick up moisture. And then, of course, downwind we get lake effect snows and whatnot. That'll be in full-scale play here in the next 24 hours. But first, we have a weather system that is moving through right now. It's coming in bits and pieces, and it's sort of weak side, but it's going to ramp up. There's an area of low pressure down here rippling north along a frontal boundary. And this will move on through and then redevelop a secondary coastal low, and that coastal low will then track into the Gulf of Maine and then probably through New Brunswick, and the whole system will wind up basically in Quebec. That whole process will mean several inches or more of snowfall. Winter storm warnings are in effect currently along and east of the Green Mountains, winter weather advisories to the west. This is a bit of a late bloomer type system. That is, it's what we call a Miller B nor'easter. It spins up late in the process, mostly tracks to our north, but typically when we get a track through New Brunswick, we can get some pretty good jackpot snow, so we're going to see the best of the available situation. It's just coming in a little bit on the late side. Taking a look at the 6-hourly increments of the European model, we can see that area of low pressure over the Great Lakes and spinning up a little bit of extra moisture coming in near the coastal areas from the Carolinas north along the mid-Atlantic into the northeast United States. And this is the supply, if you will, of our snowfall. We're going to see that mostly falls at its heaviest point tonight. This will not impact utilities. All indications are this is better than 14 to 1 or 13 to 1. In a lot of cases, more like 16 to 1 across northern parts of Vermont. So this will be a dry, fluffy type snowfall. Now, it does exit out of the region overnight and during the morning hours on Wednesday, and the winter storm warning will expire at that point in time. That'll leave us with a little bit of flurry activity, and you can see these beards coming in off of the Great Lakes, very typical signature of lake effect snows. So as these lake effect snows try to make it into Vermont, they're mostly going to fall apart, it does look. But there could be some flurries in what would otherwise mar a relative cold period, and this would be basically Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but some mornings that will be featuring below zero temperatures, perhaps as cold as -20. You can see a little bit of flurry activity there on Friday afternoon, but overall, the area of higher pressure will build in on Saturday. We're looking at better conditions. And then it does look like we get into a weather pattern change. Now note, we warm up considerably across a good portion of the eastern United States. And what ends up happening is the cold air is roughly along this line here. This is the 0-degree isotherm. So keeping an eye on those blue dashed lines, you can see that a little bit of snow shower and flurry activity moves in for Sunday. And then we start to see a little bit of a mix. And that mix gets in here. And otherwise it looks like a rainstorm with the next weather system that tracks in the lower Great Lakes. Unfortunately, this will be all rain. This is beyond the period, but that looks like our next busy stretch for utilities. And running that again with the precipitation type, this is our maximum snowfall. And it begins to exit overnight. Lake effect flurries. Most of that occurs at night. Otherwise, each day looks like it will be relatively dry, so good project weather for each day, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then we get into the Saturday night, Sunday, and you can see a cold front, some sort of an Arctic front, tries to make it in, crossing portions of northern Vermont. And then that goes back to the north, and it comes in as a little bit of a mix. That'll happen on Sunday night and Monday. A little bit of a break, and then we're going to all rain, unfortunately, beyond that period. Centered on Montpelier, Vermont, you're looking at the GFS ensemble. You can see that it's roughly about 35/100ths of an inch total precipitation, but we're looking at probably 15 to 1, so that's going to bring those totals up in terms of a light to moderate fluffy snowfall. This advertises it well with the particular snowfall that we're seeing here. 7-day total QPF in the Weather Prediction Center. You can see that we're generally looking at somewhere close to about an inch or so, in some cases maybe 1.5 inches total precipitation. This is the GFS ensemble again, and looking at winds greater than 50 knots at 850 hectopascals. You can see we barely get up at times close to about 40, 45, and this low-level jet doesn't look like it's going to be producing a whole lot in the way of gradient winds. We do have to probably keep a close eye on what will happen with a little bit of a flare-up toward midday on Wednesday. Other than that, it's not a period for gradient winds at all. Again, centered on Montpelier, this is the 850 hectopascal temperature. This is the 0 to green line, or at freezing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. Anything warmer than that would be rain. Anything colder than that, all snow. These are the 2-meter temperatures centered on Montpelier, Vermont. You can see a little bit of a downtick as we get into the middle part of next week. Through the middle part of this week, I should say, toward the weekend, then a little bit of an uptick as we get into this coming weekend. Cold anomalous temperatures, but increasingly warm anomalous temperatures across the Rockies and some of the northwestern plains, making some inroads, pushing the cold further to the east. About 3 days later, this is what it looks like. A lot of that jumps and into the south, and weather pattern change is at hand, and this will eventually get in here after this particular period. GFS anomalous temperatures from the climate reanalyzer shows the very cold drop of air moving in, and otherwise a little warmer than normal temperatures. These are based off the 1979 to 2000 base, and you can see the Arctic is starting to warm up. This is part and parcel due to that sudden stratospheric warming event that occurred back about over Christmas holiday. We're seeing the makings of that now. So overall for utilities, not a huge impactful period. We're looking at generally lighter to moderate snows, and on the dry side, greater than 14 to 1 snow to liquid ratios, and it looks like we're going to skate through this without too many problems. A little cold at night, and we got some dry project weather that can be useful Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights, thanks for watching.